Sir?
We'll be going live in the next 1 minute.
In the next minute?
Yes.
I'm ready, sir. Thank you very much for joining us for the main news on Camnet TV. To present it, my name is Marco Kozi. First, we take a look at the stories making the headlines. DEC warns of over 2 million counterfeit United States dollars on the Zambian market. KAWAMBWA Member of Parliament NICKSON CHILANGWA hands himself over to the police. Car dealers cry foul over hiked custom duty for hybrid vehicles. And in international news, South Africa's EFF open to work with opposition parties to oust the ANC. And in sports news, SHIPOLOPOLO midfielder IREEN LUNGU anticipates a tough competition at the Women's World Cup. For details of these and other stories, join us shortly after this break.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. REEN, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back, and now the news in detail. The Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC, has arrested 7 people for various offenses ranging from being in possession of counterfeit United States dollars to being in possession of berylline with codeine and cannabis. Addressing the media in Lusaka Saturday, DEC Director General Nason Banda says the Commission has also succeeded in having a number of movable assets forfeited to the state with a total cost of 10,120,000 kwacha. He says among the forfeited assets are 3 Land Cruisers, drum compactor, excavator, and a rubber pneumatic tire roller. We have details in the following report.
An operation conducted by the Drug Enforcement Commission in 3 different parts of the country has resulted in the arrest of 7 people in connection with various offenses, among them being in possession of counterfeit United States dollars, to being in possession of berylline with codeine, as well as being in possession of cannabis that were concealed in blankets coming from South Africa. Commission Director General Nason Banda, who addressed the media in Lusaka Saturday, explains that among those who have been arrested are 3 people for being in possession of counterfeit dollars amounting to 390,300 United States dollars, but warns that there are about 2 million counterfeit dollars on the market that the Zambian people should look out for.
We receive reports about this money, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually bigger quantities, but we are unable to seize everything. This particular report, where we got the 317, the story is that there's more than 2 million somewhere. Meaning there are millions of these counterfeit dollars which are already infiltrating the market. When you look at it from a broader framework, you understand that it is possible actually for somebody to buy weapons using counterfeit dollar.
Meanwhile, 66 boxes of Benylin with codeine cough syrup have also been confiscated from 2 male adults in Chirundu, valued at more than 900,000 kwacha.
Accidents are being caused by bus drivers because they get drowsy. So it is a substitute that people are using, especially our youth, and they substitute alcohol for this product.
Parents, please, this is codeine, Benylin. You see it in your child's bedroom, in your child's wardrobe. Bring it over to us. We will not arrest you when you come up with it and say, my child is drinking what you showed us. Then we shall take your child for rehabilitation and help him or her to stop using this.
2 female adults have also been arrested for trafficking psychotropic substance with high-grade cannabis, which are fetching very high on the Zambian market.
This is what is being grown in the greenhouses. It's not just grown openly like that. The substance that is in here, that makes us high, that makes people high when they take it, is called THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, delta 9. What that does is that it goes onto the central nervous system and acts on that to give you a high. Now, the quantity of THC is what talks about the potency of the substance.
Meanwhile, over 10 million worth of movable assets have been successfully forfeited to the state, among them 3 land cruisers, drum compactor, an excavator, and a rubber pneumatic tar roller from an official whose identity has been withheld.
PEC, we want to ensure as much as possible we recover the assets, push back the money into the financial system so that our country can develop. That's what we're doing. So most often, like for this one, I will not mention to you the people that we have gotten these machines from, because it will jeopardize further recovery. As you can see, even the way the chassis is and everything, are very strong vehicles. They are now your property. They are now the property of the state. We have gotten them from the criminals. They are now the property of the state. And the state will decide where to deploy them.
The Commission has since warned that it will continue to enforce the law and that it has bought 3 boats that will be used to pursue criminals who use the rivers and lakes to commit crime.
Distributing these boats very soon, I'll be flagging them off. So the border areas now where they have water bodies, we are able to chase the criminals right through with these boats. So in short, your commission is moving towards ensuring that you don't leave any stone unturned.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, police in Lusaka have apprehended 52 notorious and dangerous junkies, among them a female. Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says one male suspect was found in possession of psychotropic substance and is to be handed over to the Drug Enforcement Commission for further dealings. Mr. Hamonga says the 45 were arrested after police conducted an operation in selected areas of Kamanga, Obama, Big Jose, Chrismore, Ndeke Minwood, Kampasa Village, Kaunda Square Stages 1 and 2, as well as other crime-infested areas. He has since appealed to members of the general public that could have been attacked by junkies in these areas to go to Charleston Police Station and help in identifying them so that other appropriate charges can be laid against them. Luansha Car Dealers Association has challenged the Minister of Finance to give a statement on why it has increased customs duty on hybrid vehicles without notifying the car dealers. In an interview with Camnet News, Association President Wilson Kalembe says most hybrid cars are currently parked at the border in Nakonde due to excessive customs duty which the Zambia Revenue Authority are charging on them. Mr. Kalembe says the hiked price defeats the purpose of encouraging people to turn to climate user-friendly vehicles as they have become very expensive and beyond the reach of many average Zambian citizens.
Of the Luansha Motor Vehicles Association, we want to express our disappointment with the way the values for hybrid vehicles are coming. Because from the layman's point of view, what we know is that vehicles that are outside 5 years do pay normal duties. I'll give a classic example on a Toyota Camry. Toyota Camry pays 30,200. Hybrid, that is, from last week they are giving us these figures. Hybrid is costing 393,000 as customs duty. We want to ask the Minister of Finance to issue a statement on this because we are getting these values from Nakonde border post. Most of the people that have imported hybrid motor vehicles have parked them at Nakonde, expressing ignorance about these revised figures. So we wish to appeal to the Minister of Finance to come out in the open and give a statement so that we as agents are able to know what they're up to. Because it's unfortunate to pay a used motor vehicle, a Toyota Camry, because it is hybrid, then you pay 393,000 kwacha. Where on earth? Zambia is a member of the international community on climate change, and most of these vehicles have less emission. So we expect the government to reduce duty on less emission vehicles, not to increase them in this manner. What message are they trying to portray to the Zambian people? We want to buy vehicles that are user-friendly to the climate.
Some youths living with disabilities in Lusaka have called on government to be inclusive when rolling out developmental projects in various parts of the country. One of the youths, Andres Hadebe, says there is need to develop strategies that absorb climate shocks as they affect their day-to-day life. Speaking during a donation of over 15 youths in Lusaka, United Party for National Development, UPND, USA and Canada Chapter Vice Secretary Wesley Ngwenya says citizens should realize the need to complement government efforts in supporting climate adaptation and mitigation measures. We have details in the following reports.
As the sun dangles high in the sky, casting its relentless emissions on various parts of Zambia, citizens are tangled in a web of uncertainty as they face the harsh grip of climate change ranging from economic activities to the country's environmental profile. While the effects of climate change continue to surface, persons with disability are no exception. These are youths with disability from various parts of Lusaka who are calling for inclusion in various developmental programs of the country. Despite having laws such as the Persons with Disabilities Act, among other pieces of legislation, Andres Hadebe is calling for climate strategies that absorb climate shocks such as flooding, among others. Other youths are calling for the need to have buildings that favor everyone regardless of physical condition.
It becomes a challenge when it's flooded because of the areas that they live in. Number 3, access to clean and safe water becomes a challenge because of floods and droughts. As a result, our health is threatened. As we earlier said, where others have made the means to alternatives, we are the most vulnerable in society. Number 4, heat waves and dry conditions affect people living with albinism who are vulnerable to radiation and the sun and can be easily sunburnt.
Reserves into residential areas. Consequences of climate change include heat waves, drought, flood, among others. Climate change affects our communities in several ways, whereas others may have the means and abilities to adapt to changes in the climate. Our communities face dreading challenges for us to enjoy normal lives.
When it's flooded,
Persons with disabilities have challenges to move from point A to B. And then also our colleagues with albinism, when there is heat wave, they get burns, they have those sores. In some circumstances, they even become cancerous. So let's remember that every life matters.
Speaking when the United States of America and Canada UPND chapter made donations of 500 kwacha each to more than 15 youths with disability donated from various parts of Lusaka, USA and Canada UPND chapter Vice Secretary General Wesley Ngwenya highlights the need for citizens to look at other means that complement the government's efforts in improving the plight of citizens regardless of condition in the country.
Look for ways to support the things that the government is doing so that we can make our country a better place to live, right? And so really that's how we've changed the paradigm shift, we've changed the mindset. And I think UPND, our chapter especially, you know, we are determined to do that. You know, we don't live here in Zambia. A lot of these people that have contributed the money, you know, they are in different parts of the world.
UPND Administrative Officer Vincent Chimuka says government is committed to averting challenges that persons with disability are facing.
Done by a few people. It requires everyone to participate. Now, if we talk about climate change, we all see what happens in other parts of the world, the impact in terms of destruction, whereas we may not be that much affected yet as Zambia.
Meanwhile, the first chairperson of the chapter, Dr. Cosmas Ziambo, says it is imperative to strengthen strategies that address climate change effects on persons with disability.
Accommodate the people with disability. So this government is an all-inclusive government in terms of tribe, in terms of people with disabilities, color and everything. We need to ensure that we are rallying.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
An organization that advocates for national development has urged the Vendetta Resources Limited to honor its pledge of investing $1 billion United States dollars once it is handed back Konkola Copper Mines KCM. Speaking during a press briefing in Lusaka, Advocates for National Democracy and Development Executive Director Samuel Banda says the company should honor its investment pledges as well as social corporate responsibility promised when it resumes operations. Mr. Banda says his organization is of the view that once KCM resumes its operations, there will be an increase in the country's gross domestic product, GDP, which will result in creation of employment and business opportunities. Meanwhile, the leadership movement, through its General Secretary, Jairus Ngoma, has expressed skepticism over Vendetta's imminent takeover of KCM, arguing that the government should have managed the mine as it has capacity to do so, as opposed to surrendering natural resources to foreign entities. We have details in the following report.
Government's pronouncement on Friday that it will officially hand over Konkola Copper Mines KCM to Vendetta Resources within the month of July has been received with mixed reactions. Following protracted speculation and debates over the matter, Mines and Minerals Development Minister Paul Kabuswe announced Friday morning that government is remaining with one matter to resolve with Vendetta. In welcoming the pronouncement Saturday morning, Advocates for National Democracy and Development ANDD Executive Director Mr. Samuel Banda said the organization is confident that a major announcement is expected by next week.
We also wish to appeal to Vendetta Resources that when they begin to commence operations at KCM, they must ensure that they implement the investment commitments, such as the over $1 billion US dollar meant for recapitalization and mine development. Vendetta should demonstrate that it is committed to support local contractors and suppliers.
Mr. Banda added that given a lot of concerns from stakeholders and members of the public over the state of affairs at both KCM and Mopani mines, there is need to deal with the matter as soon as possible.
Namely Vendetta Resources and the government, to expedite the process, to expedite the process so that KCM goes into full production. We believe when KCM begins to operate at optimum level, we should be able to expect our GDP to increase.
Mr. Banda since urged members of the public to support government decision over KCM as it will uplift the country economically. However, Leadership Movement LM Party through its Secretary General Jairo Singoma has condemned government's decision to hand over KCM to Vendetta, claiming it deprives Zambians control over its resources.
She left us. They ran away that they were making losses. Now, overnight, how are they going to be making their profit? So, when you analyze this issue, you discover that it's a disservice to the Zambian people. We were supposed to take charge of that resource as a nation, as a country. Once we take charge of that now, then we put real values which will benefit your people.
Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Ngoma has also urged government to ease application procedures for youths as they access the CDF fund.
Zambian people, this CDF, everywhere we go, we're on the copper belt. They are wondering, is in Darama Zirikut? Because we are just hearing figures. Now, where is the money?
For Camnet TV News, I am Kaptula Afias in Lusaka.
KAWAMBWA constituency member of parliament NICKSON CHILANGWA has been arrested and detained at KAWAMBWA police station after he handed himself over to the police. Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga has confirmed that Mr. CHILANGWA handed himself over to the police today, Saturday the 15th of July 2023 at around 12:45 hours, where he has been detained. Mr. Hamonga says the KAWAMBWA lawmaker will be presented to court before court on Monday, the 17th of July 2023 in KAWAMBWA that issued a bench warrant against him. On May 24th, 2023, the KAWAMBWA Magistrate Court issued a bench warrant against Mr. CHILANGWA for failure to appear in court. Magistrate Martin Namushi ordered that the bench warrant be retainable on Friday, the 26th of May 2023. This follows the continuous absence of Mr. CHILANGWA in court, where he and 6 others were scheduled to open the defense in a case they are charged for arson, threatening violence, malicious damage to property, and 4 counts of assault in 2021. Transparency International Zambia, TIZ has expressed doubt on the assurances by the Ministry of Information and Media that the Access to Information Bill will be tabled in Parliament this year. TIZ Executive Director Maurice Nyambe says it is worrying that government has been going back and forth on the progress made to enact the Access to Information Bill. Mr. Nyambe says it is saddening that with the absence of a law that provides access to information, corruption fight in the country will remain unsuccessful. Here's a report.
According to the 2022 Financial Intelligence Center annual report, suspicious financial transactions amounting to 6.1 billion kwacha penetrated by, among others, prominent influential persons were recorded last year. The report also reveals that most of the trends noted in 2021 continued in 2022 in suspicious financial transactions. In the same report, the usage of cash in high-value transactions, externalized funds to tax havens by the foreign individuals and others continued. Other revelations include 3 bank accounts amounting to 31 million kwacha being frozen on grounds of suspected theft and money laundering to allow for verification and analysis. While this is the case, fighting corruption to its totality is one of the core values of the UPND administration, but Transparency International Zambia Executive Director Maurice Nyambe reveals that so long the Access to Information Bill is not enacted into law, alleged corrupt activities in the country will continue being the order of the the day.
Because it goes without saying that enactment of the Access to Information Law will, of course, give a big boost to the fight against corruption, because it will speak to issues of transparency, it will speak to issues of openness, and it will make it easy for us as stakeholders and even for citizens to hold their duty bearers to account in terms of specific information that is going to help advance the governance agenda of this country. And so the need to have that law enacted really cannot be underestimated, and we continue to call on the UPND administration to give Zambia that gift of having the Access to Information Law enacted, because it is going to be a game changer as far as the fight against corruption goes, but also as far as our promotion of good governance as a country.
Mr. Nyambe worries that despite the assurances from the government on the ATI bill being tabled before Parliament may not be the case.
Despite the relentless and countless promises that we have had. Just a few weeks ago, I heard that the Minister of Information giving a commitment or making a commitment that the bill will be brought back to Parliament this year. Now the irony is that I heard the Minister make the exact same commitment a year ago in March 2022, and so it causes you to wonder as to whether there is really any real commitment to enact this law.
Since 2002, the enactment of the Access to Information Bill, which is not only important to the media but to the citizen, has been a nightmare to successive governments. Well, the question remains, will the UPND administration enact the bill as per its campaign promises after 21 years of alleged back and forth stakeholder consultations? The clock is ticking. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
On that note, we break for some commercials. We have more news coming up. Don't go away.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Deborah, have you connected to the Wi-Fi on the bus? It's fast, it's amazing. I've just downloaded my books and I'm about to complete the series. It's nice, too.
No, I'm actually watching a reality show. He's about to propose. Oh, so sweet.
Make your trip seem short yet comfortable and safe when you use the UBZ luxurious fully air-conditioned coaches that come fitted with amazing onboard entertainment, passenger information services, coffee-making facilities and fridge for your hot and cold beverages, free and interrupted Wi-Fi for your gadgets, phone charging facilities, comfortable seats that recline to offer extra resting posture, safety seat belts, adjustable reading lights for each traveling client, and of course, clean flushing toilets for your convenience. So travel in luxury and safety with UBZ luxurious coaches. UBZ will always take you there.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. The National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, has alleged that most workshops that head teachers from various schools attend have been initiated by the Ministry of Education itself. In an interview with Camnet News, NUPEZ General Secretary Nelson Mwale says the union agrees with the Minister of Education Douglas Yakamima's remarks that government grants should be prudently utilized, but says most head teachers who attend workshop using money from the grants have not been misusing the funds. He says the minister should also realize that part of the grants given to the schools are shared with the District Education Board Secretary's office.
Grants that are given to both primary and secondary schools must be used prudently. A realization has been made that there's a lot of abuse of these resources by our school manager and managers and the other end users. In as much as we agree with that, I want to put it on record that a number of those programs where those monies are spent are actually initiated by the Ministry of General Education through the Office of the PS, through directors, through the Office of the PO, through the Office of the DEBs. And so head teachers are not the initiators of those programs. So in as much as we agree, but it must be put on record that head teachers are not the initiators, because should they fail to attend those workshops, sometimes they are cited for insubordination. And I also want to make a mention that the same resources are shared between the schools and the offices of the DEBs, the PO, and the Ministry of General Education headquarters. How I wish those resources could be allocated separately. How I wish finance could separate that allocation so that schools have their own and the offices have their own.
Economist Trevor Hambai says there is need for government to put up strategies that will address the unsustainable borrowing in the country. Mr. Hambai says there is need to cut the country's expenditure in line with the national budget. He says he has advised government to set a mechanism that addresses a systematic repayment plan to the debt that is being restructured.
Firstly, in the position where we are restructuring our debt right now, this is that you have been seeing, we've been hearing about restructuring, but also in the background is that we are borrowing $4 billion for recurring expenditure to cover the budget. So essentially is that our budget is still growing at the moment, even though we are restructuring. Until we are able to sort out the issue around how to finance the budget from what you might call fiscal consolidation, and we expect that government is going to work towards having to do this. Obviously, one of the ways is firstly is to cut the cost, the expenditure, but the second way is for us to be able to increase the revenue that we're generating as a country, which requires us to drive a GDP growth so that we can increase the tax base, and this is going to sort out the resources that we need to cover the budget. And I think this is a very big challenge that we must deal with immediately. The third one is obviously what strategies the country must be taking to ensure that we can pay back this debt that we are now restructured in the next 10 years, because we don't want to carry it for 20 years. It limits the capacity of the country to actually invest into infrastructure and economic growth.
The Zambia Institute of Human Resource and Management has urged students pursuing administration courses to affiliate with the body to enable them work as well as find internship opportunities. Speaking when the institute opened its chapter at Chalimbana University in Chongwe, Institute President Kelvin Shamizinga says joining the institute will help students have an easy entry into the industry as an organized entity. Meanwhile, Talimbana University Deputy Chancellor Dr. Beatrice Chirwa has hailed the institute for opening a chapter at the school as it will equip students with necessary knowledge beyond the academics. And Students President Emmanuel Mijelo says the learners are expecting exposure from the institute establishment at the university as they prepare for exit into the labor market.
The chapter at ZAMBIAN University. It is high time of request that we now sign what I will call a memorandum of understanding. Soon, and very soon, we have some of our students here, human resource management students, who will be graduating. I believe it is in September. I will make an appeal to the institute that could you connect them to the relevant institutions, relevant organizations that at the time they are done their theoretical aspects or their theoretical start here at ZAMBIAN University, they find themselves now in the field, in the industry of doing the other side of human resource management, which is the practical aspect of it.
As an institute, we are in the process of developing and launching a competence framework. Now, a competence framework is a framework which allows you to go into industry and be able to practice when placed in a particular position. Now, when you live here, for those that will come after you, they will have an opportunity to be exposed to some of the content of the competence framework. For you who are already exiting, you will have an opportunity to undergo that training over time. And the reason is very simple. We want you to become conversant with the full HR cycle, from entry, resourcing to exit. There's a lot that happens. And what you learn is basically theory, but when you are in industry and you have to do this, it's the real work.
I plea to Zambia Institute of Human Resource Management is that it should inculcate the leadership qualities in students and give them a feel of being an important and integral part of their motherboard. So at this point in time, I want to lobby for you. Please, Mr. President, we want these students here to be given chance to work wherever you find the space. Attachment. We want you to be going out for attachment because what we are giving you here is just theory. So we want at some point that you can be attached to the industry so that you have the hands-on.
On that note, we take another set of commercials. Still ahead, we have international sports news. Don't go away.
Deborah, have you connected to the Wi-Fi on the bus? It's fast, it's amazing. I've just downloaded my books and I'm about to complete the series. It's nice, chew me.
No, I'm actually watching it.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Rain Glow, your smart irrigation partner.
Every Monday to Thursday afternoon, join us for the Lunchtime Cafe. We get to bring to you emerging stories making the headlines, media news, and we remind you of what political leaders and governance actors said back in the days in forgotten stories. we emphasize to you the importance of eating healthy foods and leading healthy lifestyles on the Nutrition Corner. Get the latest updates in sports and critical interviews. Because we value your contribution to national matters, we accord you an opportunity to share your perspectives during the viewers' reactions. The Camnet TV Lunchtime Cafe is an all-inclusive buffet. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. In international news, South Africa's biggest opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, has announced a 7-party coalition which includes the country's third largest party but excludes the EFF. But EFF leader Julius Malema says the EFF would like to work with opposition parties to remove the corrupt ANC from power, but also to give the people of South Africa something different. He, however, says his party cannot impose itself on the opposition parties. For this and other African stories, we monitored African news.
Could South Africa's proposed opposition coalition include the country's third largest party to oust long-term ruling ANC next year? If it were up to the economic freedom fighters, that would be the case. Julius Malema spoke Friday after the country's biggest opposition party announced a 7-party coalition excluding the EFF.
The EFF would like to work with opposition parties to remove the corrupt ANC from power, but also to give the people of South Africa something different. But we cannot impose ourselves on the opposition parties. If they don't want us, we'll work with those who want to work with us.
The leaders of the parties that have agreed to form a coalition will hold talks in mid-August. During his press conference, Malema also mentioned neighboring Zimbabwe, where presidential and parliamentary elections will be held on August 23rd.
We need a stable Zimbabwe, especially ourselves as South Africa. We need a stable Zimbabwe, and we so wish that this election are successful and there's no violence and they produce stability for the sake of our own peace. This thing that we see here of Zimbabweans being beaten up and all of that really is not nice. It's not nice. So a functioning Zimbabwe will lessen some of these xenophobic tendencies that we come across from time to time.
South Africans will cast their ballot next year for the national and provincial elections. Under the Constitution, the National Assembly meets after the elections to choose the president.
Lebanon's emergency force is busy fighting fires. There's an increased risk due to a significant rise in temperatures. Already there have been 3,000 fires in a relatively small-sized country. The wildfire season has begun earlier than usual this year, and it's blamed on global warming. Lebanon's nearly bankrupt state makes the situation worse.
The latest vehicle that we have received was in 2000, year 2000. So all our vehicles and tools are old, more than 20 years of age.
Limited resources make it hard to cover huge areas. In the north, a group of volunteers are relying on donations to protect 180 square kilometers of forests. Lebanon loses up to 2,000 hectares of forest a year to wildfires and deforestation.
We had to drive an hour on narrow, winding roads to reach this fire. The terrain is steep and rugged in this region.
And these men work under difficult conditions. Their equipment is basic. They only have 2 vehicles to cover vast territory. And they have to rely on the help of locals.
We also have a problem of ensuring a water supply line due to long distances.
Municipalities, like most state institutions, also lack funding and resources. The United Nations is offering support.
What we have seen in the fires that have risen 4 times from last year is they're mostly in grasslands. And that is because these lands have not been able to be cleaned, and we have been also working through our work at the municipal level in cleaning forests and in cleaning grasslands, so if there are fires that they don't spread so fast.
Lebanon has already lost 26% of its forested areas in the past 2 decades, and that's before the impact of climate change.
And now in sports news, Zambia midfielder IREEN LUNGU says everyone in camp is working hard despite the cold weather in New Zealand. LUNGU says the weather is worse than the girls anticipated, but that they are adapting and preparing hard for the tournament. She says there is a lot of competition as players are working towards making it in the first 11. The Zambia national women's team is currently in New Zealand for the FIFA Women's World Cup that kicks off on the 20th of July 2023. Here is a clip, courtesy Football Association of Zambia.
It's high. Everyone is in the good mood. The preparations are going so far so good. I think everyone is ready for the tournament. I think this time around everyone is okay, despite the day that we reached was cold compared to our clubs. Here it's very cold, but this time around I think we're now okay with the weather. The journey was just okay. Journey was just okay because there's a lot of competition here. Everyone is pushing. Everyone wants to be in the best 11. So all is well. I think the morale is high. The game that we played Germany, that win is I think it's boosted us, boosted our morale. That team is. They have great players in Germany, so I think that's what I can say. So I think this time around, every team has great players. The only thing that we're supposed to do is to work together, to push one another, and to utilize every chance that we're going to have. Just to utilize every chance because most of the games we do have chances in first half. So the only thing that we're supposed to do is to utilize immediately when we have any chance. Yes, everyone is ready this time around.
As we come to the end of the news, we take another look at the stories that made the headlines. DEC warns of over 2 million counterfeit United States dollars on the Zambian market. KAWAMBWA Member of Parliament NICKSON CHILANGWA hands himself over to the police. Car dealers cry foul over hiked customs duty for hybrid vehicles. In international news, South Africa's EFF open to work with opposition parties to oust the ANC. And in sports news, SHIPOLOPOLO midfielder IREEN LUNGU anticipates a tough competition at the Women's World Cup. Before we go, we now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which comes from the book of Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21, and it says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." That's it. That's all we had for the news. Don't forget to join us for another bulletin. On behalf of the entire production team, have a blessed night.